Capital One has quietly rolled out a wave of changes over the past couple of weeks, and most people have no idea what's coming. If you have a Capital One or Discover card, these updates directly affect your points, your bonuses, and your approval chances. Now, first, Discover cards are now migrating into the Capital One app. And I think this one caught so many people, everybody off guard. And honestly, it's happening way faster than anyone expected. Capital One has officially started pulling Discover accounts into their ecosystem. And these are not rumors or leaks. Actual Discover card holders are already getting notifications that their Discover It card and other cards will now live inside of the Capital One app. It's real. And this is such a big deal because when you move a card from one bank's ecosystem into another, that's not just an app change, it's a culture change. Discover and Capital One operate very differently. Discover has always been, kind of like the nice guy of credit cards with industry leading customer service. Capital One's vibe is more like we do what we want when we want. So naturally, the entire Discover community is kind of freaking out, and for good reason. As we move forward, people have a lot of questions right now. Like, are the Discover It cards 5% rotating category safe? Because come on, let's be honest. That's the whole reason most people keep the card. And they want to know, is Capital One going to tweak or trim or kill off perks? And history tells us, yes, they will. And they want to know, will we eventually be able to convert Discover cash back into Capital One miles? Because that would be absolutely wild. But imagine turning that 5%, grocery cash back into travel points. And here's the part that nobody really says out loud. When two major banks merge like this, perks rarely stay the same. They don't get better. They just get adjusted. And when banks say adjusted, we all know what that really means. It means nerfed. So yeah, this is huge and it's only the beginning. And you want to hear something wild? One of my community members named Brian emailed me and said, "We knew this was coming. Hate the merger, but it is what it is. Capital One sent me a new debit card that runs on the Discover network. They're moving this fast is crazy." And that tells you everything you need to know about how aggressively Capital One is pushing this transition. But listen, before we go even deeper on Capital One's big changes, with everything, tightening up recently, I'm talking approvals, perks, rules, welcome offers, you cannot afford to swing blindly anymore. If you haven't grabbed my free pre-approval master list yet, this is literally the moment to do it. I keep it updated monthly, and it has over 80 cards that you can get pre-approved for without a hard credit pull. I'll leave a link to that below so you can check it out. All right, now back to the chaos from Capital One. So Capital One hit us with a massive welcome offer restriction as well. So deep breath here, because this one actually stings. So for years, Capital One has been that one bank that was strict in some areas like approvals, but surprisingly kind of chill and laid back on other things like welcome offers. You could play the game smart, grab the venture card, then kind of circle back months later for the Venture X card and hit both bonuses and then walk away with 150 to 200K in bonus miles. It wasn't easy, but it was possible. But now they're going full Amex mode and not in a good way. So here's the new rule. They say that you can only get a Venture or Venture X welcome bonus once every 48 months combined. Meaning if you grab the Venture bonus anytime in the last 4 years, you're locked out of the Venture X bonus. And if you grab the Venture X bonus, then you're locked out of the Venture bonus. It doesn't matter, which one you got first. So basically, Capital One just merged the Venture and Venture X into one card family. And just like that, they killed the two card stacking strategy that many people have been using for years. And a lot of you might be asking, why did they do this? I would say that the simple answer is Capital One doesn't want people hitting the bonus on one card, then jumping over to the other card for another big bonus. They watched how Amex tightened the rules. They watched banks, fight churners, gamers, and they said, yeah, let's do that too. So if you were thinking about grabbing both bonuses, that window is just gone. The game changed big time. Next, the Venture X just secretly raised the spending requirement for the intro bonus to $10,000. Now, I'm not going to lie, this one had me kind of facepalming because the Venture X card used to have one of the easiest, most generous intro bonuses in the entire premium card space. But they just quietly cranked up the difficulty level by a lot. So the 100,000 mile bonus is still there technically, but now Capital One wants you to spend $10,000 in 6 months. No real warning, just boom. Congrats, here's your new requirement. And just look at how wild this is because the old requirement was $4,000 in 3 months. And then the new requirement is now $10,000 in 6 months. That's a $6,000 increase for the exact same bonus. And listen, I know a lot of you are responsible with your money. You budget. So trying to squeeze an extra $6,000 onto one card just to hit a welcome offer, that's not light work. Most people don't casually spend $10,000 in 6 months on everyday life unless they're forcing it. And forcing it is exactly how people end up overspending. That's how they end up carrying balances or stressing themselves out for a bonus that used to be easy. And what many people don't even talk about is the opportunity cost. Forget the $10,000 for a second. Ask yourself, what could you do with the same $6,000 somewhere else? Because that's the real loss here. With that same spin, you could knock out two Amex bonuses or hit a Chase Sapphire Preferred bonus with the money left over. It just doesn't make sense for most people. And then Capital One launched their own Apply with Confidence page. Now, this is, the update that actually made me smile. Because if you ever apply for a Capital One card before, you already know the emotional trauma that comes with it. They're the only bank bold enough to hit you with three, yes, three hard inquiries, and then have the nerve to still tell you, nah, we don't want you. It's like getting rejected and then slapped in the face at the same time. So when I saw this new feature, I had to check it out. Capital One now lets you go through the entire application. So not a maybe, not a we'll see, but the real application with zero impact to your credit score unless you decide to accept the card. That means you get the real approval decision before they ever touch your credit report. So this isn't their old pre-approval tool. Okay. The one that says you're pre-approved only to deny you 12 seconds later once they ran your credit with a hard pull. This is if we say you're approved, you're actually approved, period. So this gives people a real path into something like the Venture X card. There are always folks who've been wanting the Venture X for years, but they've been too scared to apply because of how strict Capital One's automated underwriting has been for this card and the looming threat of that triple hard pull I talked about. But now there's no real downside to applying. So good job, finally, to Capital One for once. And this is exciting. There's actually rumors of a new Capital One card launching soon. So multiple sources are whispering about this brand new Capital One card dropping. It's called the Savor X. And if the leaks are accurate, we're looking at a potential launch window of early to mid-December. Now, the rumored perks are 4x dining, 3x on groceries, 10x on hotels, and plus entertainment, and a lot of those usual premium car starter pack extras like travel credit, dining credit, a Starbucks credit, Apple TV Plus, and Uber One. Basically, Capital One looked at all the popular lifestyle perks other banks offer and said, copy, paste. But listen, here's what I want to know from you. Is the Savor X a hit or a miss? Does it solve a real problem? Does it fit a real need? Is it better than what's already out there? Or is it just another Me Too premium card that we're going to forget about come next spring? I want you to let me know by commenting below and just say hit or miss. And also, one of my community members named Alexander emailed me earlier and said, the Savor X, in my opinion, should at least match the American Express Gold. If they debuted a metal card that matched Amex Gold's multipliers with a lower annual fee than $325, it would be a huge disruption. I actually think it has the opportunity to be a hit. But again, let me know what you think below. But here's the part that matters more than any one card, and I don't think anybody's addressing it directly. All of these changes, the venture family restrictions, the new spin requirements, the Discover migration, the rumored new card, they all point to the same truth. Banks are tightening up, like belt on the last loop tightening. This isn't just Capital One. This is an industry-wide pivot happening right in front of our eyes. You can literally see the pattern. Welcome offer spin requirements skyrocketing, fewer and fewer big bonuses, more hoops and weird restrictions to jump through, more you can only get this bonus every 48 months rules, and really just way fewer ways to stack 100 plus bonus miles like we're used to. So the game is definitely changing. The banks have stopped chasing any customer and they're actually chasing profitable customers now. And you might be asking, who are these profitable customers? Well, I would say they're people who spend a lot, people who stick with one card, people who don't bounce from bonus to bonus, people who carry balances, and definitely people who run their whole life through one issuer like Capital One. Basically, Capital One, Amex, and Chase, they don't want hobbyists anymore. They don't want churners. They don't want people who treat credit cards like a chess game. They want those sticky, high spend, loyal, put every swipe on our cardholders. The kind of customer that's going to deliver guaranteed profit for years to come. And banks like Capital One are just not going to say this bluntly, especially to your face. In fact, I found there are 7 major things Capital One will never tell you, and understanding them can save you years of bashing your head against the wall. So you got to check out the next video right here to see exactly why your Capital One card refuses to grow and why it's not your fault. Thank you for watching.